Welcome to Truly Rotten Potatoes, the Filmmaker interview series. I am your host, Declan, and today I am here with James Branson, the writer-director of feature film Bunny. James, how are you?
I'm quite concerned given the nature of your podcast.
Well, we've done a pivot. We used to just be four guys talking about all the films that had 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Then Rotten Tomatoes said we had to change our name, so we started calling ourselves Rotten Potatoes. Yep. This is going deep back into the COVID times when we launched this podcast. Yeah, we got given a cease and desist from some big lawyers, and we had like 50 listeners to this show. We were like, who cares what our thing's called? Anyway, I think they wanted to name their own Rotten Potatoes podcast like officially somewhere.
Right.
So we changed our name.
I was gonna say if you're on their radar, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's great to be known by the lawyers of the giant company that owns Rotten Tomatoes. But now I just get to talk to filmmakers, which is my passion. So,
what's your favorite 0% movie? I'm so curious now.
Problem Child.
Oh, Problem Child? That has 0%? Dude, that's a classic.
Yeah, when we watched it, we were like, this is just super fun. I would have loved this when I was a kid. It has 2 sequels and an animated series and all this stuff.
Yeah, I was a kid when that came out. I'm old enough to remember. It's John Ritter, right?
Yep, he's in it.
Yeah. I loved that movie when I was a kid. That is 0%. That movie rules.
Yeah, there are a few like that. Most of them semi-deserve their position. It's not that they're all terrible either. They just kind of like get boring as they go on. Like they all start good and you go, why would this have 0%? First 10, 15 minutes and then they just, spin their wheels for a while.
Oh, damn. I'm going to have to go back and watch Problem Child because I remember loving that movie when I was a kid.
Your film is not a 0%er. You don't have to worry about that. I want to talk a little bit about how you got into the filmmaking career before we get into Bunny. So
sure, yeah.
I heard in another interview that you were a musician.
Yeah, my road to filmmaking was a little bit weird. In my 20s, I was a musician in some bands that I'll not name because then people will look them up and I'll be embarrassed. And I kind of found my way into graphic design and writing and video editing through that. And so after the band after I had a kid and needed money and a music career wasn't really sustaining me that well because I'm in Australia and there's no real industry there, I pivoted to starting a magazine called Sneaky, which was like this street magazine. But we did have a YouTube channel, which was really fun and successful. And so that's kind of how I got into doing video work. The YouTube channel for Sneaky was this kind of Vice style thing where we'd go and do weird shit on camera. If you look up the word dominatrix, I think the top result has me in a GIMP mask on YouTube. So we did a lot of stuff like that, and I just really got the bug for video. And then I decided, then one of our subjects was this cult that lived out in Armidale. They were like a BDSM cult. And I decided that they deserved longer than a 10-minute kind of Vice style documentary, and went and moved to Armidale, shot their lives for a year and produced this documentary about them, which it's probably never going to come out because the main guy's in jail now, all the women have left, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding that particular subject. I'm not sure if he's out of jail now. He might be. He definitely was locked up for a while on slavery charges, which is the craziest thing ever. And so after that experience, I realized that I wanted to do long form work in film and loved putting the documentary together. It was a really interesting experience. And I particularly liked just constructing that narrative that went for longer than 10 minutes, Yeah. So I thought, I thought my next step would have to be a feature film. And that took, 4 years really of thinking about it and writing different scripts and working on, a variety of projects. And eventually, luckily, Bunny came to me in 2024.
So when you were working on Sneaky, was that like a physical magazine or an online website as well as a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it was a physical magazine and a YouTube channel, which is the weirdest combination. Yeah, that's what it was. And I grew up with lots of street press around me when I was young, and I really loved that. And so when I got this opportunity to start my own, it was right at the end of physical media. It was a very bad time to start a street press, to be honest, in 2012. And we didn't last that long.
But it was a real kind of heyday for Vice-type short documentaries, sending people in a couple cameras into like weird, seedy underbelly, interviewing strange characters. And that was kind of the bread and butter for you. Was that your full-time job at the time, or was it just like a hobby you were doing on the side?
No, it was my job. We did some wild shit. There's the dominatrix one. We went with this guy named Tim Sharkey, who is a ex-gangster living in Thailand, who accused the Thai police of stealing his gold. And we took some cameras in as he went through the Thai police station trying to find where his gold was, which was really, really scary. We went to Cambodia and shot missiles. There's you can do gun tourism in Cambodia, which is one of the craziest things you'll ever see. They'll let you shoot a bazooka at a car. And yeah, just stuff like that, very vicey.
That's really cool. And I guess part of that same, not underworld, but like the strange characters that you were interviewing through this magazine, you also, that influence does carry through to Bunny.
I hope so. There's two characters in Bunny that are based on the cult that I mentioned before. They're the two characters that show up just for one scene, about 20 minutes in. And yeah, it certainly found its way into the film. I think as well, the way the dialogue for Bunny is written is deeply influenced by that kind of work. It's really important to me that dialogue sounds really natural and doesn't contain those kind of Aussie cliches that some Australian films kind of get caught up in. So yeah, certainly it did find its way into the film, and I hope that I'm really glad you saw that, actually.
Yeah, I went back and watched some of that stuff, and I could see the through lines of your old work.
Oh, really? You watched some of it? Oh, damn.
Well, I like to get the whole kind of picture, because it all does feed into itself,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So did you say the doco that you made on the Armidale cult?
Yeah.
That was a full-length documentary, but it hasn't come out?
Yeah, it's actually 6 parts.
Oh, wow.
Each episode's about half an hour. And I swear it's Australia's Tiger King. It's just never going to see the light of day, which is really unfortunate, because so it was basically a sex cult, and the girls who are involved have all gotten out, thank God. I'm still friendly with them, and they don't want that shit out there. And it'd be really difficult for me to justify doing that. And the guy who's at the center of it is a pretty dark character. And it's one of those things where I don't want that to be my everyday. I don't want to come into work and start editing and be working on this really dark shit. It's just not a great place to be. So I wrote Bunny, which is like kind of a dark film, but has a bit more humor to it, I think.
So did this project never get finished and edited, or it is out there but it's not published?
It's finished and edited, but it's not published. Well, it's not finished. They're all rough cuts. Until we can find a way to justify releasing it, I don't think I'll work on it again. Yeah.
I wonder if you could use it as a pitch thing to make a narrative series, based loosely on true events or something.
Yeah, I've already thought of that. I'm about 20 pages into a script that's exactly that.
Amazing. All right. So following that, you decide you want to get into making your first feature that's not a documentary series. And you said you wrote a few scripts. Did you have, was there a couple of projects you were weighing up or just trying to see what was the most producible?
Seeing what was the cheapest, to be honest, because we didn't really have any money. So for a long time, I was working on a found footage idea with a friend of mine who lives in this dilapidated mansion with his quite insane mother. And it was a found footage documentary horror about a guy who is living in a dilapidated mansion with his mother. But the kind of fictional element that we were going to bring up into it was he was a serial killer and I was documenting his murders. So that was just a little too weird, and I think the found footage genre is a little bit overdone now. And then I kind of bounced around from idea to idea all the time. I had a full-time job at the time, so it was really kind of not likely that anything was going to get done. And then thank God I got made redundant from a job that I'd been at for some time. And that kind of came at a really good time. I was really wanting to make something and really felt the itch for a feature film. And so Bunny actually only really came to me in August 2024.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
It was really quick, yeah. The idea came and I had an outline in about 2 hours, and then I had the script done about 2 weeks after that. And then it went through some more iterations, of course. So that was in August 2024. We were shooting it by December 2024 and we'd finish it by April 2025. It was really quick. But I think that it was quick because I'd been kind of working up to a feature film for so long, you know, with the documentary stuff, with that feature documentary series, with my work in the commercial world. I'd kind of built up enough of a background to know that if a good idea did come to me for a feature, I'd be able to make it, and I'd be able to make it cheaply, and I'd be able to make it well. Yeah, whilst Bunny itself was a pretty quick turnaround from conception to delivering the final edit, there's a lot of experience and thought that goes way back, you know. And I'm a musician, so, you know, it helps that I was able to do the sound design and I can edit. So there's a lot of, I feel like my entire career kind of led up to that point.
Yeah, a lot of skills you had to build up.
Exactly.
And then it meant that you could hit the ground running.
Yeah, totally.
The job that you got made redundant from, was that media related? Were you making stuff?
Yeah, it was.
You weren't just working like in an office as an accountant. You were still working on skills that were somewhat related to being able to get a film up. And I assume it meant you had some contacts, that you knew cinematographers or production designers or people that you could pull in when you needed to.
Exactly right. So what I was actually working as was a creative director for a youth publishing company. And most of what I was working on was campaigns for movies. And so I'd actually got a lot of experience in marketing movies as well. And that was mostly bigger stuff. It was like for Disney and TV shows, like reality shows as well. It really gave me the confidence that not only would I be able to make Bunny and do a decent job of it, that I'd be able to see through the marketing campaign as well, which, to be honest, has proved way more difficult than I anticipated. But and it also definitely gave me contacts. Like my producer Taylor worked with me at that job for since 2016 or 17, so we'd known each other a long time. But most of the other cast and crew I found through like Facebook groups, man. To any filmmakers out there, and you need to find cast and crew, go on Facebook cast and crew groups, because there's really talented people out there.
Yeah, that's so cool. I want to definitely get into the marketing side, because I first heard about this film through your TikTok. Just came up on my algorithm.
Yeah.
And then I started watching more and more, and talking to people about feature films is kind of what I'm all into at the moment. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I'm seeing you in the middle of it, which is, I think people really don't get to hear the stories of how distribution works, especially like a fully independent film. So I want to definitely talk about some of the marketing things, but let's talk about Bunny just as general. I assume most people that listen to this may not know anything about it. So just give me like a little bit of a log line, maybe some of the influences, like where it kind of sits in the pantheon of Australian movies, like genre-wise?
Yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic quasi-horror about a young woman discovering that to live in the ruins of the world, she might have to hunt other people. It's very much influenced by 80s Australian Ozploitation stuff, like particularly Mad Max, and then has a bit of influence by more modern, I guess you could say feminist horror, movies like Raw, Under the Skin, and a bit of hint of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well. I was watching that a lot before we made Bunny. So yeah, it's a post-apocalyptic horror. But then at the center of it, I think it has a bit of heart as well. It's about the relationships that you form in trying circumstances. And in particular, it's about a relationship between a father and daughter in the middle of the film as well. And I have a 15-year-old daughter. And so that certainly found its way a lot into the film. And also like just my daily conversations with friends and family. Like there's conversations in the film and scenes that are directly lifted from talks I've had with my partner, Claire. She says that I've plagiarized her brain a little bit.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the way it looks. It's got this small scope in terms of story and like speaking characters, as low budget features often do. But because it's shot in real locations, it does still have this kind of wide, empty Australian look to it. The scenery is like amazingly shot. When you were writing it, is it one of those things where you were writing it for the locations? You knew where you could shoot these scenes?
I had no idea, man.
Oh, wow.
I really didn't. Yeah. I had a hint of it because once again, my daughter does urban exploring, which is where you go out to abandoned places and probably smoke weed, but doesn't tell me about it. So I had an inkling that I could use spaces like that for the film and get away with it, and thankfully we did. The main location for the film is a shack out in the sticks, and I had no idea where that would be. And thankfully, there's a bunch of those on Airbnb. So it's literally just an Airbnb that we found and hired.
Yeah. Wow. How long did you have to hire it for?
We were there for 3 weeks, but it was a great location because there's the main house, which is where we shot, but the property also had 3 other Airbnbs on it, which we could use to house the cast and crew. So we were all there for 3 weeks straight in a place called Tallong in New South Wales. It's about 2.5 hours southwest of Sydney. Yeah, and thankfully we actually secured the location, and in competition with Farmer Wants a Wife, who also wanted the location at the same time, and they gave it to us.
That's amazing. So you had you done a recce, or were you just looking at Airbnb photos and being like, I think this is it?
Nah, we did proper recce's. We went all the way up to Dorrigo for a place which is 7 hours away from us, and found that they had no plumbing, so we couldn't shoot there. We did a few months of location scouting. Once I'd written the script, I realized that we'd need a really good location for this main house. So myself and the cinematographer and the gaffer, that's Eamon's the cinematographer and Sinclair's the gaffer, we spent a long time finding the right places.
Yeah, well, I think you did an amazing job. What about the, is it like an old abandoned warehouse or factory or something? That was amazing.
It's a power station. It's called Wongi Power Station in near Newcastle. It's amazing. We could have shot there for weeks. We ended up... The scenes that as they were written, we'd planned to shoot in that location for 1 day. We ended up shooting there for 4 days because we liked it so much, and it formed a really big part of the film. For those that are listening, it's this huge abandoned power station. It's the size of a university. It's got all these nooks and crannies. It's also got people in there all the time doing things like scavenging metal. When I went to the site recce there were some stuntmen who were throwing their ropes all the way to the top and like practicing stunt work and swinging all the way through the place. And then when we got there to shoot, there were some drunk guys who'd been there all night who'd set fire to part of the building. And there was another guy there who was scavenging metal with an angle grinder. And so between takes, I got his number and say, hey, could you stop using the angle grinder for 10 minutes while we do these takes? And he was really cool.
So it wasn't as abandoned as it looked on camera. There's people around doing stuff there.
Yeah, there's also like kids there everywhere doing graffiti. One of the funniest things that happened was that there were some kids obviously following us, but we never got sight of them. But we knew they were there because they would tag our stuff. So we'd shoot something and turn around and someone had tagged our water bottles. Had no idea who they were, but they did it. So there were these like ghost taggers following us around. It was really funny.
That's really cool. So when you first decided you'd written the script and you're like, I think we can actually make this. Was it always the plan to go fully independent, self-financed, or were you looking for arts grants or Screen New South Wales support?
We had the money. So I'd gotten a bit lucky with some investments and my producer chucked in some money as well. And we budgeted it at 60 grand, which is about what we spent. So, we thought, with the kind of lack of experience and contacts we had in the narrative feature world, it might be a little bit of a nightmare going into that whole funding system. We really thought we wanted to do this fully independently without going through any of the process that you usually have to go to get that stuff. And so for us, it was more of a strike while the iron's hot kind of thing. We had the money in place. We didn't need any support from those organizations, and felt that the film would happen more efficiently and faster and better if we could do it just completely on our own.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think what you guys pulled off, assuming you kept to a budget around that, is it should be really inspiring to anyone out there who wants to make a feature film. Because I think if you say you need to get $1.5 million together, for most people, that's impossible. But if you say you just need to get 60, 80 grand together, and if you get a few people that all, put in 20, 30, 40 grand, you can work towards that. You can save that, you can get a team together. I think if people see Bunny and go, that's what you can do for that kind of money, yes, you need to be able to do the sound design yourself. You need to write a director, I assume you're the one person who's working for free on the set the whole time, maybe a producer as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is the part of a lot of people don't understand with these is like the money goes to paying everything else, the cast, the crew, the props, the food, and then it's you just working on it for 2 years on your own for free, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think if you're thinking about how to elevate your film without much money, I think the first thing you should consider is probably locations, and really putting a lot of effort into scouting those locations and writing for locations that you can get for free. And so whether or not that's the streets of the city where you can just take a small crew, low impact, and cruise around and shoot without really interrupting too many people. I've seen a really good film recently at South by Southwest that did that, called Pure Scum. And I'm pretty sure they did it that way, and it looks really, really great. Or something like Bunny, where you go out to the rural areas and try and find places where you can just shoot for free, or abandoned places that help the narrative. I think that really will elevate your film. And then putting a lot of effort into the cinematography and planning the shots really, really well. Eamon Bazanji and I did a lot of work for that. And I think that's his talent and dedication is a big reason as to why the film looks pretty good.
And I think that kind of production value, it adds so much to the film and really masks the budget. I don't think anyone would watch that movie and think it was made for that low because of the production design. Even the stunts and things that you have, they all look, like I won't spoil anything, but someone does get shot, and I'm like, that's an amazing like shot effect, that just looks like a proper. There's no part of me going like, oh, that's like the cheapo version of this.
Yeah, I mean, partly it's luck. I just got super lucky with all the people that were attached. The actors were, all amazing. I got really lucky with our makeup and hair and SFX person. Kim, she just did all those things and did them all really, really well. Taylor Thompson, who produced the film, also did the production design and costuming as well. So, you know, I'm not going to say that you'll always get that result. Like, I was extremely, extremely lucky.
How many of those people did you know beforehand or just got recommended, or Facebook groups, that kind of thing? How'd you find them?
Besides Taylor, the only person that I knew before was Entree, who plays one of the characters in the film. He plays the intruder at the end, who I met because him and I were both sleeping with the same woman at the same time, and I found him in the bedroom. That's how we met. Aside from that, everybody I either got from like literally putting posts up in Facebook filmmaking groups around Australia, and then people who contacted me through that process would know other people who they brought on because they liked the script.
And so it sounds like you turned getting made redundant at your job, which for a lot of people could be quite a catastrophic moment in their life, and basically said, well, I'm going to take that redundancy payout, invest it, and then that money basically turned into your seed funding for the movie.
That's exactly right, yeah.
So that is, I think, a good lesson for anyone out there who's trying to make a film. That's like sometimes what can be a hard moment in life can actually turn into an opportunity. What was your expectation when you were making this? Did you have grand, lofty ideals of where this would go and what it would do for your career, or was it more of a personal challenge? Like, what did you see this project expectation-wise?
This is going to sound really like I'm a wanker, but I'm an artist. And so I don't really think too much beyond that. Like, I go and make the things that I want to make. And that's kind of what I've done throughout my entire career, whether it's been as a musician or starting a magazine or a YouTube channel. And I've always found that if I follow that instinct, it leads me somewhere good. I'm never certain where that's going to be, you know, but that's how I've always lived. And I've done okay with that. I think I had some ambitions for Bunny because I kind of knew the marketing side of it a little bit as well. So I knew that there's a way that I can reach an audience that I think will pay to go and see it. Certainly I want Bunny to make money. That's really important to me because that'll mean that I can do the next one and do it independently as well. And like, if Bunny can make a couple of $100,000 through video on demand sales or festivals in the US, or we're thinking about taking it on a bit of a tour throughout cinemas in the US as well, that'll be great. That's a little business. And, you know, I can get more money for the next one and the next one and the next one until I'm eventually making films that maybe cost, you know, in the millions. And so I certainly had ambitions to be a director who eventually is making films that cost, you know, $20-30 million. I'd love to be doing that eventually.
Yeah, amazing. So you weren't going, I'm putting my own money into this and I'm happy to lose it all. You were hoping that there was a commercial aspect to the film. So I guess that would work into the story that you're trying to tell, or at least the way you're marketing it as well. You're not just like, this can play at one small independent art house festival. You want this to get a wider audience.
For sure, man. Like that's really important to me as an artist as well, that people see what I've done, you know, and it's really important that it makes money because, you know, it's not just my money. Taylor's put some money into it as well. We've got some partners in the distribution side of things who are basically working for free on it. So it's really important to us that it makes money because that means that we've got a little business and that we can keep making these kind of films.
Yeah. And so you shoot it for 3 weeks, and then are you the one taking it and editing it over the next 6 months on your own kind of thing? And are you back working full time, or are you just on the film?
I was back working freelance, but most of my time, so we finished shooting in December 2024. We shot a little bit more at the power station in January 2025. And then for the next 2 months, I was just full on editing the film. I'd take up some freelance jobs every now and then when I had the money, but I had enough to support myself. And so, yeah, it was me pretty much full time editing, doing sound design, writing music. And and kind of working in conjunction with Taylor, the producer, who'd come in, a few days a week and just go, no, change that, do that different, that kind of thing.
Did you have any other post-production team, like a color grading or other people that were helping you?
So we had a bit of a philosophy with making the film, which was don't pay anybody to do anything that we can't do well ourselves. Color grading is something that I cannot do well myself. I'm terrible at it. And so that's something that we did invest a little bit of extra money into, and I think it really helps with the film. It was graded by a guy named Nicholas at Crayon. God, I've forgotten his last name. Nicholas Malkin at Crayon. And he did an incredible job. When we went and shot the film, we chose the location because it hadn't rained there in 5 years, and Bunny is kind of a climate apocalypse movie. And so the whole place looked really dry and kind of brown. Grass looked brown or yellow when we did the site recce. But then the 2 weeks before we shot there, it rained. It was torrential rain. And when we got there to shoot, it was like the beautiful rolling hills of Scotland. It was just beautiful green grass everywhere, yellow flowers popping up. Oh God, those yellow flowers drove me crazy. And so the colorist had a big job on their hands to
take the color out of the grass,
and take the color out of the film, and so I think Nick, along with Eamon Barzanji, the cinematographer, who also kind of supervised the color grade as well, the fact that it looks dry and dead in the film is kind of a minor miracle. And tells you what a really good colorist can do.
That's amazing, because that's what happened with Mad Max Fury Road as well, right? They had to go somewhere else because it had suddenly just rained and turned it all green. So
yeah, I mean, it was great for the farmers in the area. It sucked for my film.
Speaking of the climate apocalypse aspect,
the
way you set that up at the very beginning of the movie is very cool, because it's low budget, but it's real. You're not doing a crazy visual effects opening. You basically use real footage of a bushfire, like raring through this kind of open area, and you see it happen in real time. It's just like an unbroken 2-minute shot or something of these fire guys coming out there and then getting in their car, driving away in the fire truck, and then the flames just come through and like engulf everything. And it says it all. Where did you get that footage? Had you just seen it on the news, or like how did you get access to it?
Yeah, well, like everybody during the 2019-2020 bushfires, I was pretty stunned by some of the footage that was there. And that particular bit of footage is just some CCTV footage from a fire station that they had set up there. And it's incredibly scary because the fire just overtakes this place in a matter of like 20 seconds. It goes from being the firemen are kind of chilling, don't seem that too concerned, and then 20 seconds later, the whole place is engulfed by flames. Thankfully, I just called them up and said, hey, like, I'm an indie film. I have no money, but can we use this footage? And they said, yes. There's so much footage out there of those fires that it's incredibly terrifying. I would say the scariest piece of media that I've ever seen is this vlog by this random girl on YouTube who did like get ready with me vlogs. And one day she's doing a vlog and a bushfire engulfs her town. And so that vlog is 45 minutes of her trying to escape the fires, and it's terrifying. It's scarier than any horror movie you will ever see. And so that bit of footage really inspired me to think about what is actually scary in a film like this, and for me, horror films, traditional horror films with their jump scares and supernatural elements, I don't find that scary, but something like that, like a bushfire, is terrifying. And I think in Bunny, there's a lot of references to other media as well in the film. Yeah, putting that at the start. The best way to set up the world with the budget that we had, which was basically zero, and do it in a way that, really shocked audiences from the outset.
Once you finished the edit and the mix and you were like, this is ready to start being shown to people, what was your plan for distribution? What steps did you take?
The first thing we did was get in touch with some people who are experts in the field. And thankfully, the Australian industry is a small enough and accommodating enough community that people will just like, if you call someone who's an expert in that field and say, hey, can I like buy you lunch and talk to you about how you've gone about your career, people are really willing to share their knowledge. So we did a lot of that. We were pretty focused on reaching a major Australian film festival to give ourselves a little bit of prestige, and thankfully we made it to South by Southwest, which was a great launching pad for the film. And then we just hired this company called Elusive Fish, run by a girl named Macy Fabry, who's kind of doing the same thing with distribution that we're doing with film. She started her own business as a kind of indie film distributor, getting small films like ours into independent cinemas. And we partnered with her to do that. And that's been a really great experience. So we're still only really like a quarter of the way through that distribution plan. We did some like real audience analysis as well. So like went deep into the kind of audiences that we think will like Bunny, their behavior online, where we can reach them, the kind of things that they like to go to see, whether or not they like to go to event screenings where you have the cast and crew, or if they're more likely to just, if they see an ad a few times, just download the film for $5. So we've done a fair bit of research into that as well, which has definitely played into how we've distributed the film so far. Right now, we're only in cinemas. We're doing the cinema distribution part of it because we're a tiny team and we can't do all those things at once. So, yeah, and there's a fair bit of improvisation in that as well. Like you have a plan and you think this is how an audience is going to behave, but then they don't behave that way and you have to adjust. And so a film like ours, I think the journey isn't like it is for a major film, which is bomb everybody with marketing because you have the budget to do that, release it at cinemas for a few weeks, and then chuck it on streaming or video on demand a few months after that. That's not how we're going to go about it. We're going to take a much slower and more methodical look at how we market and distribute the film. So far we've done these kind of eventized cinema screenings where me and Taylor and Kate, who plays Bunny, or Trey, who plays the Intruder, go and talk about the film and do a kind of like special features commentary after the film's shown. So that's what we focused on so far. And then this year, 2026, it's 2026 already, we'll focus more on the video on demand, kind of selling it online, and also taking it to the United States as well.
That's cool. So are you going to look at physical media at all, or are you just going cinemas in Australia and then see what you can get overseas and video on demand?
I would love to do a physical media release of it. I'm a little less convinced that it's financially viable. It's a cool prestige thing. We're a truly independent film production company. We don't really have access to the scale that makes that kind of thing profitable. And so I think if the film is successful and there's demand for it, we'll do it. I would love nothing more to do than to do that. I think that would be awesome. I've got all these ideas for how that would work. But I think at the moment, because we're such a small team, we're just focusing on the things that we can accomplish. And I think physical media is a little down the track.
Great. So South by, was that the premiere, the first time it had been screened?
It was the first time it was screened was actually at the Perth Horror Film Festival,
okay, yeah.
Which was probably my favorite ever screening of the film.
And then after South by, those kind of event screenings you were doing where you do a Q&A afterwards, are they just you booking them? Are you four-walling a cinema and just kind of picking places that you think you can sell it to?
No, we're doing it. We're split with the cinema mostly. There's been one or two that we've had to do that, and to be honest with you, I've preferred that for a reason that I'll talk about in a second. But mostly it's been contacting the cinemas saying, hey, we're an indie film, can we show a couple of screenings? And they've been pretty open to that, you know. The truly independent cinemas are really open to that. Ones like Palace and Dendy are a bit harder to get a hold of because they've got deals with major players, and there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that. So that's been really good because that's means that we haven't had to pay money up front for those kind of things. The bad thing about that is that it's really hard to control the advertising for those when you're partnering with cinemas in a more traditional way, where it's a ticket split. They're selling the tickets on their websites, on their own platforms, and so we don't really own the data, and it's very hard for us to properly target an audience. So we've actually, I think going forward, we might actually prefer, counterintuitive as this may be, the model where we just book out a cinema and sell tickets ourselves, because then we own the data and we can do a better job of targeting the audience. There's, it's a little, that kind of business is a little boring and it's a bit of a slog, but it's like super, super important that when you're an indie film like ours, that you own the audience. And so I think going forward, we might actually do more of that, just booking out a cinema and selling tickets ourselves.
Yeah. And are you doing that kind of literally one at a time, just whenever you have a spare weekend or Friday, Saturday nights, or midweek? Sometimes the cinemas will give it to you cheaper because they know no one's coming on a Wednesday night. We
did a tour. So in November, we did a tour of Sydney down to Melbourne, and then Adelaide as well, actually. So we're kind of thinking of the film in the same way that a band thinks about a tour, like getting in our car and doing 8 dates, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and then next year there'll be another short tour as well.
I love that. I think that is like the let's all get in a van and just go down and show this thing.
Yeah.
And then rather than the kind of releases where it's just out in a bunch of places and you can't control the times and you're not really getting that face-to-face with the audience, which is so important as an indie filmmaker.
Yeah. And, we get to interact with the audience and, I think Bunny's a reasonably divisive film. Some people, I think, don't like it, but other people are really, really passionate about it. And we found that there's, at every screening, there's been at least a bunch of people who have really loved the film and really gotten it, and that's given us a lot of heart that if there's that many people in Australia that really love it, that we can find people around the world that will as well.
And are you still submitting it to other festivals or trying to get into the US or going to film markets and trying to sell it to sales agents and distributors?
Not really. We're not actively going about that. We've had some distributors and sales agents get in touch with us inquiring about the film. It's not really our focus. We're pretty focused on keeping as much of the money as we possibly can. I think given that Taylor and I have a background in marketing, the audience doesn't care if your film's been picked up by a major distributor, that they don't even know. As long as they see good creative that's being advertised at them and they see a place where they can watch the film and they're interested in watching the film, if you can accomplish that without a distributor, just do it yourself, and we've been very lucky that, we've got the talent and skills to be able to do that. I've got a friend who's directed some 5 or 6, pretty big budgeted films for Australian films. And he told me I'm not going to mention who this is, but he was pretty explicit that he's seen every distributor who he's worked with fuck up the distribution of their film, and especially the marketing. And he's just had to sit and watch it happen. And so it's a little bit arrogant of us, and we've definitely learned some harsh lessons in trying to do that ourselves. We've learned how tough it is to get people into cinemas. The expense you have to go to sell one ticket is pretty high. So we'll learn from that and hopefully keep getting better at reaching that audience. But yeah, it's definitely not on our list. It's not that important to us to get a major distributor. It's more important that an audience member sees the film. As far as festivals go, I'm not that concerned with festivals. I don't think the audience really cares that much about festivals, and they're not really a moneymaker. A lot of indie films go about that, and it's kind of prestigious to play at festivals. But I think if that's your target, I don't think you're going to make much money.
Yeah, I love the attitude that I'm hearing, because it all rings true to my experience and the other filmmakers that I know. It does mean that you're now in charge of everything. So you're creating posters, you're cutting trailers, you're doing all the social media marketing.
Yeah.
And that means you have to get on TikTok and try and talk about the film. Can you talk about that experience a bit?
I like it. I like doing all that shit, man. Like, it's better than a normal job, you know? Throughout the past year, I've been working at a regular job that I quit again a few weeks ago because Bunny needed my full-time attention again, and I'm so happy. I love doing it. As far as TikTok goes, it's just fun to talk about film and filmmaking with such a responsive community of people, you know? And what's been amazing on TikTok is the amount of people that are interested in talking about Australian films, you know? All of my most successful TikTok videos are ones in which I'm talking about Australian films. Admittedly, sometimes having a little bitch about the industry is kind of helpful. As far as audience goes, they do seem to like that, which bothers me a little bit because I'm a pretty positive guy, you know. I don't like to bitch about too many things, but you know, when I have been having a little bit of a whinge about stuff, about the process of getting a film out there, people seem to respond to that pretty well, which tells you something about social media, I suppose. But TikTok's, for me, just a fun place to talk about it. And the fact that it helps market the film is a great byproduct of that.
I love seeing you on there and getting discussions going. And I think it is a way of being able to hit people that you just can't hit otherwise, that because the algorithm does just put you in front of people that will have similar interests.
Yeah, it does get exhausting. Like, I'll spend all day working on a poster or a new trailer or working on some strategy with Taylor about how we're going to get the film into this particular territory, or, you know, you should see my to-do list, man. It's insane. And then I get to the end of the day, I was like, oh shit, I haven't got a TikTok to make. What the hell am I going to talk about? But mostly it's really fun.
Yeah, well, I can give you some clips from this convo and you can throw some B-roll over it, and yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Great. Yeah.
Are you ever coming down to Canberra? When are you going to tour it?
I think we're coming down early this year. We'll have some news in about 2 or 3 weeks about our next tour, and I'm pretty sure Canberra will be included in that.
Awesome. I'm very keen. I'll try and get some people
hell yeah, man,
down to see it.
Awesome.
I think what you've done, I've spoken to quite a few indie filmmakers, and I think yours is the most independent, like in terms of everything from the financing to the production to the post-production to the marketing. And I think what you'll learn from that as well will be so important in the next one, like that you can take on. Because if you just have a company that takes your film on, you'll learn some of the stories that you said your friend was telling you, which is just they screw it up. They don't do anything that you want them to do. You feel like they're spending money in the wrong places. They're wasting money. You're not getting a good enough cut, all these things. And so you can learn the hard way, or you can just go out there, learn it yourself, and kind of see if you can build a sustainable business from this. And when you make the next one, you'll have the email lists of the people that bought tickets and all these kind of media people that you've spoken to that actually care about indie film as well. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Like, I think the best people to promote a film are the artists who made it, because they understand why they did it. They understand intimately the audiences that they were trying to reach with it. I mean, I really love the fact that I was reading a lot about Stanley Kubrick's process recently, and the fact that he didn't just have all this control over how the film was shot. He also like insisted on controlling like how it was marketed as well, and looked at that as part of the art, and the process of making the film involved the marketing as well. And that's how I look at it as well. Like, I'm not comparing myself to Kubrick. I'll never be that good, but you know, to me, the cutting of the trailers and the positioning of the marketing and why you put this trailer here and the posters, I love it. I love it. It's all really creative and fun for me. And so, and to me, that's part of the film. It's like the world building of the film, you know? And so I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's amazing, because you get full control on just the font and the colors and like the tone of the film. Like, you get to choose what comes across to people, and then they can see if they like it or not. But you're not lying to them to try and get them to buy a ticket. You know, you can actually hit people where they care.
Yeah, and most importantly, we can change really quickly. So if we discover that the trailer that we put out is not reaching the audience we thought it would, or it's kind of appealing to a different audience, we can change it in a day. You know, if we're with a big distributor or had to go through a process where there's lots of people working on it, that would take weeks to do. But we can do it in literally an hour. Like, we can put something up, see, oh, the audience is responding really well to that on Instagram. Like, let's hit them with a few more things like that. Let's get those people who liked that and target them with some paid ads. And we can do all that within a day.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing advantage.
Yeah. You could see if certain characters are getting a huge reaction and you're like, oh, we didn't center them in the trailer that much because they're a surprise when they show up or anything.
Exactly.
Push that a little bit.
So it's one thing that we've learned about the film, actually, and without spoiling the film, there's the middle of the film essentially is a relationship drama between Bunny and her dad. And we've found that a lot of people who are much older than we thought have really loved that part of the film and really understood the film as a whole, as a kind of like meditation on the world that the younger generation is going to inherit, you know? And we've got some really positive responses by people like boomers who are not horror fans, who have come to see the film and really loved it. So that's enabled us to kind of do some creative that's going to target like older people who are less interested in horror, but more interested in like what the aftermath of climate change is going to be, and are more concerned with the world that their kids are going to inherit, you know? And so to do that within a couple of days and change our marketing or make some new materials that target that audience is, once again, something that a bigger company could never do that quickly.
That's really cool. I love hearing that. Do you have any advice as we kind of wrap this up for people that want to get out there and make their first feature? What are some of the skills you think that are necessary in this day and age to do it? And anything that you've learned along the way? I know you mentioned before, like writing towards locations, that kind of thing. Like, what would you tell upcoming filmmakers before they dive in?
The most important thing you can do is feed your cast and crew well. Like, seriously, like a well-fed cast and crew that's a happy cast and crew. We made a mistake in the first week of Bunny. We hired a company. There was a cafe nearby where we shot, and we thought, oh, we'll just get them to feed us. And they gave us the shittiest sandwiches every day for a week, and nobody was happy. And so, to be honest with you, like it's really unsexy, but like keeping them well fed is really important, and then not overworking them, because when you're making a film like this, inevitably you're not going to be paying people as well as they might otherwise be paid. We take pride in the fact that everybody got paid decently at Bunny, and they got paid on time, and so we didn't want to overwork because we weren't paying them huge amounts of money. We never shot over 10 hours on a day.
Yeah,
and it was really important to us to shoot efficiently because we are really appreciative of the time and expense that people put into it. And then another kind of unsexy thing is like pay people weekly instead of like collecting all your invoices at the end of the shoot and then taking a couple of weeks to pay people. Collect them at the end of each week and pay them at the end of each week, because they'll know that you have the money and they'll know that you're dedicated to paying them, and they'll keep coming back and doing a great job for you. I think that was one of the reasons we got such a great kind of performance from all the people that worked on the film.
Yeah.
It's like the unsexy stuff is like really, really important, actually. Like what camera you shoot on, what lens you shoot on, you know, is really important, but it's nowhere near as important as that logistical stuff, some of which we got wrong in Bunny. It was a tough shoot. Do the unsexy stuff really well, and I think your artistic dreams have a better chance of soaring.
Treat people well around you and they'll treat you well back, and you can get the best out of everyone.
Yeah.
I think Bunny is a great example of what you can do with a little and how great it can look on camera and what you can actually accomplish, how you can do it independently. You don't need to sit around waiting for arts funding for years and years, hoping that you get kind of money through that lottery. You can just go out and shoot something, and Bunny is just perfect for use some Airbnbs, find some great locations, get a couple of good actors together and a great DOP and shoot the hell out of it. And you have something that you can tour around and will live forever.
And to quote Werner Herzog, learn how to fake a permit.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, James. Really nice to meet you and hear about your filmmaking journey. Where is the best way that people can follow the story of Bunny? Where can they come and see it? On the tour, website, social media?
So it's a film called Bunny on all social media. So a film called Bunny on TikTok, a film called Bunny on Instagram, a film called bunny.com. Right now, we're kind of working on the next part of our tour. So there's actually no way you can see the film right now, but there'll be some dates coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Great. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Declan.